Hello everybody, this is Brett Lonsdale from Lightning Tools. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon. We're going to be talking about Social Squared, our discussion board software for Microsoft SharePoint and also Microsoft Teams. So welcome to the call. What we're going to do first of all is just have a quick introduction to Lightning Tools and who we are. I'll keep that short and sweet, especially for those who attend webinars regularly. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the company, the products that we do very briefly, and then we'll jump straight into Social Squared. So first of all, Lightning Tools, we're a company that has been established for 15 years, coming on 16 years now. We are based in the UK. Our headquarters are here in the UK, very central in England, and we also have US presence as well. And it's between those two locations that we support our customers and also, of course, our sales and our development teams. The products that we provide are all around SharePoint. That's everything we do. So this includes permissions management, which is something we've been doing for a long time. So our permissions tool is something that is designed for SharePoint site owners and also SharePoint site collection administrators and also tenant administrators as well, so you can get a good grip on your SharePoint permissions, be able to manage them easily in sites that you own, but also in bulk as well across multiple sites and multiple site collections. So that's our delivery point tool, and we do have a webinar coming up for that as well in a week's time. So if you haven't registered for that one and you're interested in permissions management, that is on the 15th of December at the same time as this. We also have a content aggregation tool that is used for aggregating content from SharePoint lists and SharePoint libraries, being able to build reports both in SharePoint on premises, SharePoint online, and also Microsoft Teams. And it also goes beyond the lists and libraries as well into the Microsoft Graph, so you can aggregate content from other tools such as Planner and To Do and OneDrive and Teams and so on. We of course have the discussion board, which we're going to be taking a look at today. And besides that, we have some data integration tools. We've got a webinar on our data viewer coming up in January, so you can see that and what it's all about. It's actually a great addition to Social Squared from a reporting aspect, so you can report on how popular your forum groups are, how much engagement you're getting, and so on as well. And we also have a series of products that are all around SharePoint list form design. So we have the form designer itself, that is called Lightning Forms, so you can customize a standard SharePoint list and turn that into a business form. We also have list actions that provide a series of different actions that you can build into command bar actions for your SharePoint lists. And finally, we also have the document generator that can transform a SharePoint list form into a Word document so that you could share that with customers, vendors, etc., depending on what that form is. Okay, so that's what we do. And before we go any further, I just want to make an announcement that last week in Copenhagen, Denmark, Lightning Tools actually won the award for Social Squared, specifically the product that we're going to be taking a look at today. So from the European SharePoint Conference, which is an event that happens every year, usually somewhere different in Europe each year, they had a panel of experts who selected Social Squared to be the most innovative modern workplace solution. So that's me up on stage receiving the award, and that's the last time I'll talk about that in this webinar, but you can find out a little bit more about that on our website as well. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about here today is, first of all, the concept of discussion boards. Just I know this comes up quite regularly. People are asking, why would I use a discussion board versus a posts tab inside of Teams, or maybe comparing it to something like Yammer or Engage or even email. So we're just going to sort of have a good position of what Social Squared is and what discussion boards are before we move forwards into actually looking at Social Squared specifically. So we'll have a look at how discussion boards will be able to help you and help your organization. We'll have a good demonstration of Social Squared really from sort of start to finish. And then we're also going to jump into what's new. So if you already use Social Squared, hopefully you'll pick up lots of tips and tricks along the way anyway. But when we get to the what's new bit, you're going to see around about 6 or 7 new features that we're about to release, and you'll be able to get downloading today. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm not great at multitasking, so I'm not going to be reading those out and answering them as I'm presenting here and demoing live. But what I will do is make sure that we address those questions at the end of today's webinar. Okay, so first of all, concepts of a discussion board, and I'll keep this one brief. I'm sure you've all at some stage used a discussion board out there on the internet. It could be a question you've researched. We're coming up to Christmas, and people are probably wondering, you know, turkey cooking tips and things like that, how to create your gravy early and so on. And you might Google or use Bing to research that question, and you're going to come across a forum where people are actually discussing it, and these are typically subject matter experts. So you're going to come across chefs and so on, and really any type of subject you're going to find discussion forums for. So it might be around cooking, it may be about how to create a smart home, it might be technical software questions. It doesn't really matter. There are forums out there for all sorts of different subjects. And most of them have a similar look and feel. One thing that they all have in common is the fact that a subject can be quite broad. So if we just take the cooking subject for a moment, of course, we could be cooking turkey for Christmas, but we may also want to learn how to cook side dishes and puddings and things like that. So they are going to be broken up into different forum groups and different forums, so that when I'm reading the forums, I'm not having to scroll through lots of noise about how to cook the best Christmas cake or anything like that. I can just jump straight to the turkey forum and learn how to cook the best turkey to my ability. So everything in that is going to be different discussions, people asking different questions around turkey cooking, maybe raising turkey, whatever it is. So that's the idea of it. We've got similar questions being asked within a forum. So when you go into a particular forum, everything is going to be relevant to what you're trying to do, the answers that you're trying to find. So here's an example on the screen of a well-known software tool called Stack Overflow. That's nothing to do with us, but it's one that you could use and probably come across on the internet. If you looked for a technical question around software, you're likely to come across Stack Overflow, and you'll see similar features to what you have inside of Social Squared. And the people that are answering your questions are not employees of Stack Overflow. They are community people. They're subject matter experts who may specialize in SharePoint, may specialize in a different piece of software like Sage or whatever, but they are there to answer any questions that you might have, and they can make it really findable as well by allowing you to tag your content. So you can see some different tags in here. We've also got verified answers, so that way I know when I'm reading through the posts within inside this particular topic, that those ones that are marked as answered, either the subject matter expert, the moderator themselves, or the topic creator was satisfied with the answer that they got, and therefore I can trust that a little bit more than obviously something that hasn't been marked as answered. So how can that be useful inside your business? So what we're looking at is really an internet-based discussion tool for the public to be used internally inside your organization. And there's multiple different reasons for using a discussion board inside your organization. I'm going to pick on one of those today, which is how it could help somebody that's new to your organization. So if we had somebody that was joining the organization today, they are going to come, first of all, with lots of different questions. And these questions are questions that other people have asked time and time again. Now, those answers to those questions may be in people's inboxes. So, of course, when you joined a company, if you didn't have a discussion board or anything like that, you may have just emailed somebody that you thought might be able to answer your question. You could drop them an email, they'll reply to you, but the only two people who would benefit from that are the person responding to you and, of course, the person who asked the question in the first place. So anybody joining in the future who has that same question, they're going to be blind to that answer and wouldn't come across it. And of course, these questions could be asked verbally in an office and so on, and that same problem exists there as well. So, of course, there's other different tools like the Posts tab inside of Teams. We could ask a question there. One of the challenges with that is it soon goes out of scope. So people are commenting inside your teams all the time on the posts tab, and you have to scroll up to find these answers. Now, this question may have been asked 6 months or a year ago. We're not going to keep scrolling through that posts tab until we come across that question. So of course you can search, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of noise there that you have to go through even inside the search results. So that's the real intent for Social Squared here, is to design your forum groups, design your forums so that it's intuitive where to go in order to find that answer that you're looking for, which of course could be on many different subjects as well, just like it is on the internet. It could be HR related questions, it could be a community of practice around a particular project that you're creating, it could be even external users that are asking questions. So maybe your customers or your vendors are part of a community as well, where they could ask questions and receive answers from your organization, so in a sort of tech support environment around your own products. Okay, so the benefit there is you're going to be able to find answers to these questions easily. So you're up to speed in no time. You've got a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips. You can browse the different forum groups, browse the different forums that are going to be topical in each of the different teams or each of the different SharePoint sites, and you're going to be able to trust the answers that are being given, because just like Stack Overflow, they'll be marked as answered by subject matter experts or the topic creator. And yeah, you would soon be up to speed so that you can start to contribute your ideas as well, and bring your experiences perhaps from your studies or your previous role inside a previous organization to the business, and share your thoughts also. So Social Squared, it can be used in multiple places in Microsoft 365. So it's one product which is built under the SharePoint framework, and because of that, it can be used on a SharePoint site. So we can use it on a modern or a classic SharePoint site. You can also use it inside of Teams, either specific to a Teams channel, or you could also use it as a personal app as well. And you can also therefore use it on the Teams mobile app, which is great because you get notifications coming through on your phone as well. So that helps people to be more engaged in perhaps certain forums that they're following or certain topics that they're following as well. And it also extends to Viva Connections as well, which is a great place to highlight some of the conversations that are going on inside your business, so that people are more aware of them. Okay, so what we're going to do is jump in and take a look at the product. So again, even if you're experienced with Social Squared, hopefully you'll pick up a few tips and tricks as we go through the product here. So we're going to have a look at Social Squared first of all in Microsoft Teams, and then we're going to jump into SharePoint. You're going to see exactly the same features, but just a different look and feel, because it would look out of place if it looked like Teams inside of SharePoint. And we'll also have a look at the Viva Connections side as well. Okay, so let's just bring up my Teams environment here. So here we are on Teams. I'm signed in as a site or Teams owner in this particular example here, but I'm also signed in a separate window. I don't know if you saw that change, but this is actually demo user 6, who is a member of the site, but also a moderator for certain forums as well. So they are a subject matter expert. So let's first of all explore the UI. So here inside of Teams, you can see I've got the tab expanded. So that's something you can do to fill the screen. And in here, we've got different forum groups, and the type of subject here is technical. It's about different software inside of Microsoft 365. So we've got a Teams forum group itself. So if you had Teams inside your organization and you wanted to ask questions about Teams, this is somewhere where you could come and do that. We also have a Microsoft Planner forum group as well. So we could ask planner questions, or if you're a developer and you're writing code, it may be that your code isn't working. You could therefore post questions inside of the JavaScript forum or the Rust forum and receive answers from other developers inside the organization. And we've also got SharePoint, Viva, and Windows questions that have been posted in here as well. So that's one example, but like I said, you could use it for multiple different reasons. It could be non-technical, it could be used in a HR site, or something else inside your organization as well. So what we're going to do is just have a look at one of these forums. So notice here, as I go into the Teams channels forum, what we've got here is multiple different topics have been created. You can see that some of them I've read, some of them I haven't read. we've got one here that says, should I create a Microsoft list or a SharePoint list? So that's something that I could go into and respond to. So it says, I am new to SharePoint. I don't understand the difference between a Microsoft list and a SharePoint list. Can you help me? So yeah, I'm going to reply to that. So when I hit reply, we can go through and basically paste in our answer. So I'm just going to grab a bit of text off the internet here. Let's just drop that in. So this is somewhat a reply, and what we can do is also style it. It's basically retains the styles from the source that I got it from. I'm just going to correct this person's error. There we go. There's always a capital P in SharePoint. All right, so we've got the text in there, and the heading came across as well. So that was formatted. But I can also do all of the styling and so on myself inside of Social Squared too. Another one. There we go. So there's their answer. We could highlight some of those. So I won't spend too much time on this, but notice that you've got different highlighter pens and things like that. So if you wanted to focus on certain keywords or something that is inside your response, you can do. And we've got things like inserting hyperlinks, etc., and so on that you would expect. And what I'm going to do is also just copy an image to my reply too. So I'll show you how I can just simply paste in an image into my reply, and we can set some properties such as the word wrapping properties and things like that too when I'm replying. And the same goes for other types of media. So you can insert YouTube videos and things like that. All you need is the URL, and it will render the video actually inside the post. So based on the forum that I'm in and also the type of content that I wrote, you can also see there's lots of different tag suggestions in here as well. So just like we touched on with Stack Overflow, we can tag our content to make it more findable. So in here is some things that may be relevant. So we've got SharePoint, which somebody else has used the tag SharePoint inside of their post, so I can reuse it. We've also got SharePoint Online, so I can select that one if I want to, and yeah, anything else that may be relevant, perhaps SharePoint document library, etc. But if there's something that's not showing and I want to create that as a new tag, what I can do is just type it in. So I could put Microsoft Lists, and that then becomes a new tag that will show up inside a tag cloud. It would also allow me to search on Microsoft Lists and return that post even if the term Microsoft Lists didn't actually appear inside the body of the post itself. Okay, so once we've written our reply, we've tagged it. That makes it more findable. A few other options that we've got. We can post anonymously. This is something we can switch on and switch off. There's also been some refinements in this release that I'm going to be talking about regarding anonymous posting. And when I'm inside the Teams environment, I've also got the opportunity to create a Teams meeting, which will be embedded inside this reply as well. So that's really useful if maybe I can't really answer this using text only. Maybe I do want to meet with the person that's asking the question, so perhaps I could demonstrate the differences between SharePoint lists and Microsoft lists. So I'd have that opportunity to do so by generating a Teams meeting as well. And over on the right is also the ability to attach a file. So I could attach anything that might support my reply also. You can limit the different types of attachments. You can limit the file sizes of those attachments as well in the properties if you wanted to make an attachment. All right, so that is my reply. So I'm just going to hit reply on there, and you can see I've responded now to the question, and hopefully that is going to be useful. In fact, I've replied to myself, but anyway. So what I can do, like I mentioned, as the topic creator, is mark a reply as an answer. So that's where I can do it. I can just hit this ellipsis down here, say mark as answer, and that makes it a verified answer. You can see here that it has been marked as answer there. So we're saying the topic creator is satisfied with that response. Now, if you came into this from maybe a different user, so let's just switch users for a moment, and we will navigate into that same post. So so there it is. Should I create a Microsoft list or a SharePoint list? I can go into that, see the reply, and if there was lots of noise, lots of other replies as well, what I can do is just hit show answered, and that is going to bring me straight to any posts that have been marked as answered as well. Yeah, I'm cutting out the issue of having to scroll through lots of replies too. Now you can see I've got a lot more options here as well as the site owner compared to a member. So when a member is inside that same post, there's just a few things like the ability to subscribe, show answered, show featured, and show the threaded view. But if I'm in here as the team owner or the site owner, there's a few more options that I've got as well. And that includes things like delete topic. So I can delete the topic if I feel that this is not something that should be posted. I can also move the topic as well. And there's a refinement around that I'm going to be showing you very shortly. When we move the topic, notice that this is showing up other forums and other forum groups inside this social squared instance. So this is the job of the moderator, where I can keep things on track inside those forums. So going back to that turkey subject again, nobody's going to be talking about cakes inside the turkey forum. If they do, the moderator is likely to move it. So what we can do is choose where this is more relevant, and it's actually not relevant to Teams or Teams channels. So I could select SharePoint Online. It makes more sense for it to be there. So we'll move it there. Okay, and this is under moderation, so it's just saying I would have to approve that move as well into that forum. Okay, but yeah, we can move topics. We can also make them sticky, which means we can keep this at the top of the forum. So if it's the most relevant post to this forum, we can make it sticky, and that means that we can leave it there indefinitely, or we can also leave it at the top of the forum for a particular period of time. Maybe for a week or two or something like that, or also until it's received a certain number of views as well. And then we just hit make sticky and it will remain at the top of the forum. And we can see some examples of that shortly. Another job of the moderator is to make sure that we don't just start receiving way too many replies. So what we can do is also lock a post as well. Quite often, you see this on Facebook all the time, where somebody's posted something, maybe asked a question, and hundreds of people are replying with the same answer. So what you can do is just hit lock, and that takes away that ability to reply to a post. And of course, I can just toggle that to unlock it again as well. Okay, and when we are replying, just point out a few useful features. We've got a straightforward reply, which is as you saw. So I'm just going to put this as a basic reply. And that's what that one looks like. But what I can also do is reply with a bit more context. So I could, first of all, reply with a quote, which embeds the message that I'm replying to. So reply embedded. And we'll just reply that way. So you'll see what that looks like as we're scrolling through. It makes it more obvious that I'm replying to the first topic or the first post inside this topic. And I can also just do a straightforward reply, but pick something out that I want to answer as well. So notice I could highlight something here like custom columns, and I can then address that point. So my opinion on custom columns. I don't want to answer the whole thing, but I just want to reference that one little piece there, so we can respond to that. So that makes it really simple to call out little pieces of a post as well. Okay, so the other features that you've got here are subscriptions, so I can subscribe or I can unsubscribe as well to this topic. So that means that I'm going to get either a Teams notification if I'm in Teams, or I could also get an email notification as well. The fact that somebody's replied to this topic, so that would be useful, especially if it has not been answered yet and I want to be alerted to the answer. And you can also just subscribe to an entire forum as well if you want to. So if you are interested in this forum and any new questions that are coming into it, we could also subscribe at that level. And if you are, again, a moderator or an owner, you can actually subscribe other people either individually, or you can subscribe entire groups of people as well through that option there. Okay, so we've seen how to create a post, how to reply to posts. Let's also have a look at some of the different views. So in here, you'll notice that we've got lots of different views inside of Social Squared. So things like popular topics. So this is another way of viewing the content. We can just see what's popular. that way it doesn't matter what forum it's in. We're just seeing the newest stuff, sorry, the most popular stuff. So so running up to Christmas, again, we could see what's most popular there if we had a Christmas cooking forum. We can also see recent activities, so they're showing up here, and we've also got some other views as well, like most active users. So we can see myself and also demo user 6 are most active. I can see my own, I can see other users' posts as well. So if I was interested in other things that demo user 6 has been posting, we can do a search on that and jump in and reply to them. And we've also got my own posts as well, which is useful. And finally, another view, which is unanswered topics. So this is great if you are that subject matter expert. You're seeing lots of questions being asked inside your organization that are going unanswered. You can put them all into one view and either respond to them or try and get somebody else to respond to them as well. And then finding the content. So what we encourage people to do is, before you post a question at all, the likelihood is that it's been asked by somebody else. So what you can do there is actually search on the forum. So if I put, for example, Microsoft lists in here, so some keywords, there's all sorts of things coming up about Microsoft lists. Some are just mentioning lists, some are just mentioning Microsoft. So we can, of course, control the search and how it works using different operators like the plus. That will guarantee then that Microsoft lists appears inside the same phrase. And you can refine whether you want to search on the title, the content, the tags, or also the complete words as well. And there's also a date refinement that you have to work with that search. And in addition to that, if you forget to search, what you can do is add a new topic. Of course, we're going to go ahead and just post a new question, and I'm going to put in Microsoft lists. We'll start to type in Microsoft lists, and as you can see, it's actually pulling up the post that we created a moment ago. Should I create a Microsoft list or a SharePoint list? That's my question. That's the question I was about to ask. So before I even start to compose a message, I can see, yeah, actually, that's a good match for what I was going to ask. I can jump straight into it, and that's answered my question. And it's just saved me a ton of time, and it's also saved other people time as well in responding to me, because I can see here there's a verified answer, and that served my purpose. So you can imagine with software, how many times people ask you, how do I reset my password, for example? If they were to start typing that in a new question somewhere in here, it's likely that it's been asked before. They're going to find how to reset their password. Okay, so we can check that way. Another way we can find content is also using the tag cloud. So jumping into the tag cloud, these are all the different tags that have been used by other people when they're creating posts or creating replies to posts. So what I can do is just click onto something. We can see Microsoft Teams there in big bold letters because that's mentioned a lot with that tag. We've also got SharePoint that's mentioned a lot as well, or mentioned the most rather. And yeah, if we wanted to click onto one of those, we can just do that, and it's going to bring back every single topic that has been tagged with that tag. And the way that you would use those tags, as you saw, was by selecting them if they're suggested, by creating your own tags, or you can also hashtag as well inside the body. So if I start to put in SharePoint, I can also tag that way inside the body of a message. I don't have to actually come down and create a tag here. And likewise, you can also tag users as well. So if I was to start typing in a demo user account name, we can go through and select one of those and tag them inside the post. Okay, so that's a little bit of sort of finding your way around the interface of Social Squared inside of Microsoft Teams. You will notice here inside the technical support team that I've got multiple channels as well. So we're currently on the general channel inside the Social Squared Forums app. But what you can actually do is add multiple instances of Social Squared, either one per channel, or you can actually even have two instances inside the same team as well. So what I'm going to do is go and add two instances of Social Squared here, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in just a moment. What I want to do is, rather than show this view, I'm going to change this to say unanswered topics. So that's going to be the label. We're going to change the tag, or sorry, the tab name as well. So I'll go into the to the settings. Sorry, I'm going to choose rename, and we'll rename that to unanswered topics. And what we can do inside this instance of Social Squared is pin a different view. When we come down here to the unanswered topics view, I can just pin that. So that will be the pinned view for this particular instance. So I could then do the same thing on this tab as well. We could have discussion board as the label rather than it saying Social Squared forums and so on. And people can jump around these tabs to find the content that they're looking for. But equally, in different channels, you can select which questions you want to display. So if I went to the planner team channel, for example, when I go to Social Squared forums in there, you can see it's only showing the planner forum group. So what I could do is just come into the settings and actually decide which forum groups I want to show, depending on what channel I'm in inside that team. And that keeps, of course, that content on track as well. So here in SharePoint is the same product. It's exactly the same product. It's just taken on the SharePoint look and feel. The color, accents, and so on of Social Squared in this instance is all coming from the site theme. So you'll notice here, if I was to go down to change the look and change the theme, it's actually being adopted from the hub in this case. But if I was to change that to the red theme or the orange theme or something like that, Social Squared is going to adjust accordingly. And you've got exactly the same settings. We've got the same content. So as you can see, we can jump into that post that we were working on and see the fact that this has been replied to, and so on. There's all our content that we wrote inside of Teams, and we could do the same sort of thing here. We could add a new topic within inside of Social Squared through the SharePoint UI as well. So in SharePoint, it's added as a web part. So you'll notice if I go to edit the page, we can just simply drop that on the page by selecting Social Squared here, and that gives me the web part that I can work with, and we can use that interchangeably between Teams and also SharePoint as well. So how this works with Viva Connections, this is a Viva Connections site. I know it looks just like a SharePoint home site. Basically it is, but it also gets the Viva Connections dashboard and some other bells and whistles as well. We did do a Viva webinar. If you're interested in Viva a couple of months ago, that is on the webinars page on our website. So just go to lightningtools.com, click onto webinars, and you'll be able to find the recording from that Viva webinar. But in here is a dashboard, and you can see there's also an unanswered topics card, an adaptive card in there that we could click onto and see which topics have gone unanswered in this particular instance. And this is a separate instance of Social Squared with other forum groups and other forums. So this is showing employee experience forum groups, products and things like that, so we can maybe ask questions about our products, also answer some questions about culture, onboarding and working from home, and so on. What we're going to do is just hit edit. That's going to put this Viva Connections site into edit mode, and in here you can see we've got the dashboard web part, and what I'm going to do is hit the edit web part there, so we can choose how many cards we want to show. So we can increase or decrease that. You'll notice that as I increased it, it actually brought back another Social Squared adaptive card that had already been added as well. So you can choose how many cards you want to show in any one instance. What we can also do is come down here to manage Viva Connections, view our dashboard in a design experience, and that allows me to get in and edit that both from a mobile experience and also from a desktop experience as well. So the mobile experience, when you go into Microsoft Teams through the Teams app, you'll be able to get to the Viva Connections app, and in here you'll see some high-level information about your organization. So it's whatever you decided to put on here as cards. It may be news, it's being aggregated, it may be things about Viva Learning, so courses that you can take out and things like that. There's also Viva Insights and so on too. But what I can do is just simply go through and add a card, and there's all these different cards that Microsoft has added, but yeah, some of those are also ours, such as the topic subscription and the unanswered topics and so on too. So that's just bringing more of that information to you through Viva Connections also. All right, so that's a quick tour of the UI of Social Squared. Of course, if you wanted to create new forum groups and so on, we can get into that as well. So if I was to go back to Social Squared forums, we've actually just mentioned one of the Viva modules. So here we've got Viva Goals, Viva Topics, Viva Insights, but we didn't have Viva Connections. So people might start asking questions about that. So what I could do is come into the forum settings, and under Microsoft Viva, if we view the forums there, we can add a new forum for Viva Connections, give it a description. So ask questions on Viva Connections. And we can also add a moderator. So I'm going to add demo user 6 here. They may be a subject matter expert on Viva Connections, and we can refine how the moderation works for that particular forum as well. So the forum specifically. The default is that every single new topic and every reply has to be approved before it display to anybody else. So I'm going to switch that off. I don't want that to be the behavior. I want everybody to be able to post a topic, reply to people, have it show immediately, but have demo user 6 have those moderation features where they could move the topic, they could delete the topic or amend it and that sort of thing too. There's also the ability to refine it based on sort of education type environments where you want maybe just the moderators to be able to post new topics. That works really well inside a classroom environment where the teachers are creating the topics and the students can just reply to them rather than being let loose on creating new topics. So we can control that behavior as well. And you can even have external people, external to your organization, become moderators as well. And of course, you can have multiple moderators in there. Okay, so let's just add that. So that forum has been created. We now have Viva Connections, and we can go in there and ask our questions on that subject. And we could, of course, go in and add new forum groups if we wanted to as well. So if there's a completely new piece of software that we're using inside our organization, I want a new forum group for it. This is where we could go through and create that forum group. Okay, so that's navigating Social Squared. Let's have a look at what's new inside of this release. So this is going to be available to you a little bit later on today, and what we've got is a number of different options around here that we will start to be able to take advantage of. So I'm going to start off with the keep track of moved posts. So this is a small refinement, but a really useful one. So I'll demo each feature as we go through it rather than summarize and do one big demo. So what I'm going to do is just jump back into Social Squared for a moment, and in here let's just take the should I create a SharePoint list or not. I'm going to move that topic again. Hopefully I'm going to move it to one where it will just actually move to without me having to approve anything. If not, I'll go and approve it. Yeah, so that one does require it. So let's just try this one. So there's a question about Excel charting. Let's move that under JavaScript. There we go. So that moved. So I know that doesn't make sense, moving an Excel question to JavaScript. But here we are under the Excel charting post. If I go into that one now, we can see that that has moved to a different forum, and we can follow where it now resides. So we've always had the ability to move a topic if the moderator felt that it was created inside the wrong forum, but that caused some confusion, especially for the topic creator. If you were the topic creator, you created that new topic and somebody moved it and you now can't find it, yeah, you're going to be alarmed and maybe asking questions, think it's been deleted and that sort of thing. But in fact, it's just been moved here where we can find it. And you'll also see when we go into that forum that the icon appears next to the subject as well. So yeah, we can see that it's been moved. Just open that up and follow to where it now resides. Okay, so that's the first sort of minor improvement, but I think will mean a big deal to a lot of people. The next one is abuse reporting. So this is something we've had for Social Squared on premises for a long time now, but we never got around to implementing it into SharePoint Online and Teams. So as we jump in here, what we're going to do is just go back into that Teams channel again, and as you can see, somebody's posted about Social Squared wins the award, and I said that I wasn't going to mention that again. So there's a picture of the award for Social Squared winning the most innovative modern workplace solution. So this is becoming a little bit annoying, seeing all these posts about awards. I may be offended about that, so what I can do is actually just report that as abuse. So if we hit report abuse here, we can describe why we find this abusive. Okay, so there we go. It's just being mentioned way too much. So we'll just hit report abuse. Now that is going to send an email to the moderator. So you do need a moderator to be set up for the forum for that feature to work, but that will send that notification to the moderator. The moderator can then read that email and of course go through and address that as an issue as well. So it may be deleting that post or editing it or whatever. Okay, so that's one of the features that we have there now, is the ability to report the abuse, and that is a feature that can be turned on or turned off in the settings. So if we go into the settings in here, scrolling down, you will see the report abuse option, as well as terms and conditions in here too. So the terms and conditions is sort of along the same lines as the report abuse. So report abuse is currently on. The terms and conditions, we can turn them on as well. So maybe setting down some guidelines as to what you can and cannot do inside a discussion forum. So this is then something that users would have to accept. So if I put my terms and conditions, of course, you could have legal come up with those or what have you, but once they're turned on, we can hopefully reload. See how the cache is going to behave for me. It's not going to behave for me right now, but yeah, that would first usage. Make sure if I do a control, I'll just try this one more time. But that will flag up the terms and conditions which I would need to accept before I can start to do anything inside of the Social Squared UI. Perhaps it's the fact that I turned it on. I'm not going to see it for me. Okay, so there's yeah, the terms and conditions which we have. There's also subscribe to tags, and this is something that a customer recently requested from us. So you can subscribe to a topic, you can subscribe to a forum, you can also kind of subscribe to a person as well. So wherever I see somebody like demo user 6 here, if I wanted to follow demo user 6, I could do, and that way I'm kind of subscribed to that user. If that user was to post something, I'm going to be alerted about that, and I'd be able to receive an email or a Teams banner notification and follow through to the message that they just posted. So that's all well and good. But one of the things is a tag could be used in multiple different forums. So whilst I could, for example, under the Teams channels forum, I could decide to subscribe to that. And then I'd have to subscribe as well to Teams meetings and so on, when in fact, just anything Microsoft Teams related, I want to be notified about. It wouldn't even matter if it was under programming languages. I still want to be notified about it if it was tagged with Microsoft Teams. So what I can do is go into the tag cloud, and these are the tags that I can just jump to, as we saw. But what I can now do is actually select those tags at the top to subscribe to them. So I could subscribe here to the Microsoft Teams. We could also maybe subscribe to Teams channel or Teams channels, etc. And that's it. I'm now set up to receive alerts should any post in any forum be tagged with one of those tags. And again, we receive the email notification and so on as well. So that's a new feature. We've also got more code support as well. So let me just talk a little bit about that one. I'm just going to go back into here, and you can see we've got a JavaScript forum in here. So if I go into the JavaScript forum and I post a question, what we're going to do is create a new post to test if the word award is mentioned. Okay, so in the body here, I'm going to just grab some code. And actually, let me just show you what this code is doing. So this is just a little bit of code using the language of R. So there's a string here that says Social Squared won the most innovative Microsoft 365 Solution Award. This is getting a little bit annoying. So what we've got here is a bit of code that is just checking for some terms like award or won or trophy being mentioned in this particular string. So when I run that, it's going to tell me whether award was mentioned, whether won are mentioned, or whether trophy was mentioned. And you can see it's true, true, false. So now we're in trouble. So what I'm going to do is just copy this code, and I'm going to paste it in here, and you can see it's just come through as text, which isn't great because spell check is highlighting errors and things like that. So I'm going to highlight the entire code block, and in here we're going to choose the language that it is, which is R, and as you can see, that has now been formatted as code using that language. So we supported a few languages. We had things like Python and TypeScript and JavaScript and C# and C, etc. But we've just extended those to a few more languages. So now you can see them being embedded in there as well. So again, that was a request from a client, which is a point I'm going to make again very shortly. So yeah, we can go through and add that, and that's our new topic being created there. Okay, so yep, support for more code. We've also got improved anonymous posting, which we'll take a look at. So this is going to jump into the settings. So just as a reminder what this feature is, when I add a new topic, I've got the ability to post anonymously. So maybe if I don't want to get the blame for mentioning award, I could post it anonymously. There we go. And once I add that, nobody knows it was me. So there it is. It's just an anonymous post about an award. So what we can do inside the settings, if we bring those up, if we come down here to the anonymous settings, what we had before was just this one radio button here, which allowed me to enable or disable anonymous posting. And that gave the user the choice. So if anonymous posting was on, they could decide whether they wanted to be anonymous or not when they replied to somebody or when they created a new topic. Now we can basically force it. So we can force anonymous posting. So you have no choice. It's always going to be anonymous. So you can see here the settings are to always post anonymously rather than give the user a choice. So let's just add a new topic in here, and you can see that that's something I can no longer clear. So the purpose of this, it may be that you want to survey your employees to find out what they think to the leadership inside your organization or something like that. You really want to encourage people to give honest replies, and you don't want the responsibility to be on that user to forget to check the post anonymously option. Yeah, this is making sure that this instance of Social Squared everybody is going to be anonymous. We're going to get some honest replies, and we can't point the finger at anybody for anything using that. And you can do vice versa for that as well. You can force the fact that no, everybody's got to be identified. We don't want to use the anonymous option, or even make that optional for the end user. Okay, and then one quite major one, but you're not really going to notice anything necessarily inside the UI as a difference, but we have a large image storage. I'm going to point you through to the settings where you'll find this. So this is one that we can now enable in terms of it's a sort of twofold feature. One is we can choose where the attachments are going to go. So notice this upload files to. So we're enabling attachments. But what I can do is have any attachments, instead of being a list item attachment in the back end, we can make sure that they go into a document library where the file size can be far greater. So we can up the file size of my attachments, and those attachments, like I said, will go into a document library where you get all the document version management, you get search and all that sort of thing that you don't get if it's a list item attachment behind the scenes. There's also some enhancements to the rich text editor around this as well, and that would have affected you if you were a common user of the Teams mobile app. So if I took a photo on my phone using Social Squared and I decided to embed that photograph inside a message, I'd have exceeded the size of the rich text field. So that has been handled. It was a lot of development to handle that, but that's the improvement. You can now put rather large images and so on inside the body of a message and not actually hit any limits of the rich text field. Okay, so that is most of the improvements. I think I just overlooked one or two subtle ones. Yeah, one of them just occurred to me. Forum group subscription, so we can actually go in here, and some of our customers have lots and lots and lots of forums inside a forum group. They don't want to go into each and every one and subscribe or unsubscribe to it. So what I can do here is just choose at forum group level what I want to subscribe to. So I could choose multiple forum groups and switch the subscribe or the unsubscribe, and I'm now subscribed to every forum inside of each of those forum groups that I selected. So that's just a much better way of sort of bulk subscribing to different forums. All right, so that was the demonstration of the new features. I'm going to put some questions out there myself. I know there's been one or two questions that have been asked already in the chat window, which I may or may not answer here, but I will come to your questions as well in just a moment. First of all, where is the data stored? I think gets asked every single time somebody sees Social Squared, and this is quite a key feature of Social Squared. The data is stored inside the SharePoint site in lists. Even if you use it in Teams, you create a team, you add Social Squared to that team, it will provision SharePoint lists inside that team in the back end. So what you'll find is that obviously the security questions around where is the content residing. The content is not residing with the Lightning Tools. It's residing inside your tenant, inside your SharePoint site where the Social Squared instance belongs. And that gives you the ability to, of course, secure that. So anybody that is added as a member to that SharePoint site or to that team, they are the only people that would have access to that content since it's inside of lists inside of that team or that SharePoint site. So that's sort of addressing those first two at that point. Can external users access the content as well is quite an often asked question. So yeah, we have no specific user management inside of Social Squared. It's just working with the permissions inside of SharePoint and Teams. So if you add a member to a team, that member will be able to contribute towards the posts inside of Social Squared and so on. If you add a guest, they can also do the same, and you can refine what guests are allowed to do as well using a team. But yeah, guest users will be able to use that as with shared channels and so on as well. What is the architecture? So the architecture is a SharePoint Framework App. So it's developed as a SharePoint Framework App. This means we have a package that's installed inside the app catalog. Once it's inside the app catalog, it can be synced with the Teams catalog as well, and that's what makes it available inside of Teams as well as inside of SharePoint. The architecture of that, what that looks like, is basically you've got a number of all the different resources, like a manifest file and images and things like that that are used by Social Squared. But there's a pointer from the manifest to a JavaScript library, which is referred to as a CDN. That is hosted with us. That's not the data. That is just the JavaScript library, the logic of Social Squared, and you have the choice of actually having that too in your environment. If you are something like a government organization that doesn't allow CDNs, you could go down that route if you wanted to also. Licensing, how that works. So the licensing is based on the number of SharePoint licenses issued, not including external users, internal users. Yeah, it's really getting a number of how many users we have inside of the SharePoint environment that would have access to Social Squared, and then our billing is based on that as a subscription. And typically that is a base price of $1,000 US, and then $1 per user per year. Not $1 per user per month, but $1 per user per year. Okay, so they're the questions I just want to sort of put out there, which quite often come up. But what I'm going to do now is answer some of your questions. I'm going to stop the recording at this stage.